darkness, deserted my world in the midst of nightmare. Hence, I submit with tears those who polluted your air and put out your light. Have you forgiven them? Have you loved them ever? Actually, this line is quite familiar with us, and it's a very popular poem from Gosno. কণ্ঠ আমার রুদ্ধ আজিকে বাসি সঙ্গীত হারা অমাবস্যার কারা লুপ্ত করেছে আমার ভুবন দুঃস্বপনের তলে তাই তো তোমায় সুধাই অশ্রু জলে যাহারা তোমার বিষাইছে বায়ু নিভাইছে তব আলো তুমি কি তাদের ক্ষমা করিয়াছো তুমি কি দেশেছো ভালো actually this is the thing which is going on. Our air, our environment, our surroundings are now getting polluted. And choke is my voice today. I don't know what is the reason behind it, whether it is man-made or not. But the thing is that we are now going through in a big crisis. Surely all we are now in the same boat, brother. Because the one thing behind it, that is COVID-19. Till now, we don't know whether this pandemic will end. But being a human being, we should be positive. We should be optimistic in mind, in thinking. Because we know that every challenge, every adversity carries the seed of an opportunity that can be transformed into possibility. Now, this COVID-19 resulted in social isolation within countries, closed border, loss of business, loss of job, loss of employment, shutdown of farm industries, and many more adverse economic effects. And this economic turmoil associated with the COVID-19 pandemic has been wide-ranging and severe impacts on financial market, including stock, bond, and commodity market. And keeping in mind this matter, this issue, today we will have a discussion on the topic financial market scenario, impact of COVID-19 in India and Bangladesh. And we are very much proud, we are very much honored today, because today we have with us two eminent resource persons, one from Bangladesh and obviously two from our country. We have today there Professor Dr. Sheikh Samsuddin Ahmed, former economist, World Bank, Director, former Janata Bank Limited, one of the leading bank of Bangladesh, Commissioner, Bangladesh Security and Exchange Commission, and former Professor of Finance, University of Dhaka, Bangladesh. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Today, as well as we have also a Professor, Dr. Siddhartha Shankar Saha. He is a Dean, Faculty Council for Postgraduate Studies in Commerce, Social Welfare, Business Management, Calcutta University. He is also Director, Calcutta University, Calcutta Stock Exchange Center of Excellence in Financial Market.
Thank you, Dr. Basak.
Thank you. And as well as we have also another renowned professor, academician, Dr. Professor Amanundu Bhuya, Professor of Commerce, University of Kolkata, and former head of the department, University of Kolkata, West Bengal, India. Now, with this, may I request our respected principal, sir, Dr. Manush Kumar Odhikari, who has always been a path-showing personality in every developmental aspect, every developmental activities of our college, to inaugurate, to give his welcome address, sir. Over to sir. Sir, please.
Thank you, Amit. On behalf of Sushil Kaur College community, I welcome Professor Sheikh Shamsuddin Ahmed, Professor of Finance, University of Dhaka, and Commissioner, Bangladesh Security Exchange and Commission, Professor Siddhartha Shankar Saha, Professor, Department of Commerce, University of Calcutta, and Dean Faculty Council for PG Studies in Commerce, Social Welfare and Business Management, University of Calcutta, Professor Amalendu Bhuya, Professor, Department of Commerce, University of Kolani. Namaskar, everybody. I also welcome faculties of universities and colleges of our country as well as of Bangladesh, and if any other country joined with us, the researchers, faculties of our college and students and of other colleges and universities as well to this international webinar, Financial Market Scenario, Impact of COVID-19 in India and Bangladesh. I must appreciate the initiatives taken by the Department of Commerce of Sushil Kaur College, especially Dr. Amit Bosak, Head of the Department of Commerce, the other faculties, Professor Madan Mohan Jana and Dr. Bashav Kumar Sil. I also thank Dr. Amit Trivedi, Head of the Department of Physics, for his technical guidance and support for organizing this webinar. Thanks also to Professor Ashim Kumar Pal, Librarian of Sushil Kaur College, and Sri Purnendu Vikas Chatterjee for their help. Today's topic is very relevant in the present economic scenario. Economic recession in this country and also in the world as well has started from the latter half of the first decade of this century and has affected almost all developing countries as well as developed countries. This has resulted massive unemployment, price rise, loss of purchasing power, deficit financing, social unrest, even in USA, UK, and Germany and other developed countries. The fiscal and monetary measures seem ineffective to reduce the above illness of the economies. In the developing countries like us, recession has affected the poor people most due to loss of employment and income. The so-called growth of GDP in the first decade of this century in India especially is not inclusive in nature as reflected from various studies. With COVID-19 spreading rapidly in India as well as in the world, policymakers are worried about how to fight the various effects of this virus and minimize its impact on the economy as well. In a study of State Bank of India, it predicts a contraction of over 40% in the GDP in first quarter in the financial year 2020-21. For the states, the total loss due to COVID-19 is estimated at 13.5% of the total gross state domestic product. This is enormous, perhaps unprecedented economic pain ahead. Both policy and politics will have to play an important role to alleviate this. One thing comes in my mind that all these things are due to shortage of demand, and we must give emphasis on increasing the demand. The COVID-19 is also a great challenge given to the economy as well. Anyway, I don't want to elaborate my points. Today, actually, 3 experts are there. They are well-known persons and they are really good academicians. I don't want to lengthen my speech. To this, I want to end my just welcome address. Before that, just I want to give 1 or 2 words about my college. Sushil Kaur College is an affiliated college under University of Calcutta. It is situated in the South Chobbish Pargana district of West Bengal, India. And actually we have 3 streams, arts, science and commerce. Around 4,000 to 4,500 students are there in my college. So this is about my college. It is NAC accredited, re-accredited in 2013. We are grateful to our speakers for giving their time, and the organizers, especially Amit, both Amit Trivedi and Amit Bosak, for organizing this. With this, I end my speech. Thank you very much, and once again, welcome you all and attend this seminar. With these words, I end my talk. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir. Now we step into the next academic session. But before moving into that session, it is my humble request to all the participants to follow some decorum throughout the session. Everyone should mute audio and put off video throughout the session. And participants may write their question in the chat box, specifying the name of the expert. Although all the questions are important to us, but due to paucity of time, all questions not to be entertained by us. And finally, feedback form will be provided just after completion of the seminar. Now, may I request Professor Dr. Siddhartha Shankar Saha to give his inaugural speech. But before that, few words about Professor Saha. He has become Dean Interim, Faculty Council for Postgraduate Studies in Commerce, Social Welfare and Business Management, Calcutta University. He is a member of Senate and Syndicate, Calcutta University. Professor Shah is also Director, Calcutta University, Calcutta Stock Exchange Center of Excellence in Financial Market. And this is very much important, I think, so far the today's theme is concerned, because he is well concerned with financial market. Professor Shah has authored 10 books, especially on finance, national as well as international level. He was editor-in-chief, Business Spectrum Journal, Indian Accounting Association, South Bengal branch. He has completed one UGC major research project and one ICSSR funding major research project. He has also attended several number national as well as international conference seminars at report conference. Thank you, sir. Please, sir, we are waiting for your speech.
Now, very good afternoon, because now that is we have crossed only 1 minute after 12. And my many thanks to Dr. Amit Bosak, my beloved Dada, my elder brother Amit Da. And before going to discussion, I must say I'm very much grateful to this college, that is Sushilkar College. I very much know this about this college, and I'm very much grateful to the principals of this college, Dr. Manos Kumar Odhikari, and our convener, Dr. Amit Bosak, and CMM Madan Mohan Jana, and my brother, Dr. Basav Kumar Sil. Both of them, they're basically organizing secretaries. And also, I must welcome in this, in India, particularly Bengal, India, coming from Bangladesh, senior professor, Professor Dr. S.S. Ahmed. And also, I must mention my bosom friend, Professor Dr. Amalundu Bhuiya. And also, I'm very much, grateful to the others who are the organizers of this particular webinar in the context of COVID-19. One thing I tell you here, I would like to share some, some important issues. But at the same time, I must say, as a researcher, as a student, as a researcher, as a student, I did not think about. Actually, I have to, speak on this particular issue, COVID-19 and financial market, reason behind, because those who are researcher and students in financial market area of research or finance research, rather behavioral finance research. So what we have done earlier, the event study we have done something like, impact of, what should I say, the different events or maybe different announcement globally or maybe locally that we have seen, that we have seen. I never thought that we have to speak on the impact of COVID-19, rather the COVID-19 and financial markets, the perspective, Indian perspective, as well as global perspective. Yes, COVID-19 basically given us the new impetus, positive side, given us, something new, a new idea, not only financial market, but also other markets, other areas to do our research, to find out, to explore the challenges, and also to inquire the opportunities. So in this context, I must say, I just take here hardly 20 minutes time, which is allotted to me to give the inaugural speech on COVID-19 and financial market, the theme of this webinar. I must say, the COVID-19 pandemic has sparked a global realization that our current way of life doesn't work. That we know. And also, it has broken our perception of what is normal and deconstructed society as we know it last few months. The effect of coronavirus, the originated from, as we know from the, our information from China, and thereby its preventive measures has upended, upended the life of stakeholders. The COVID-19 scare is giving sleepless night to stakeholders, not only that is our academician, but also students, businessmen, or others. If I say something about the impact of COVID-19 on pandemic, in pandemic situation on financial market, I must say the pandemic scenario at a glance, I have some information, data like till 17 June, that our state-wise India's data, if we look at this particular table, if we find that Delhi, basically the total confirmed case was 44,688 till 17 June 2020. If I look at Gujarat, it was 24,577. Maharashtra, that is 1,13,445. And also if we come to Tamil Nadu, 48,019. And also Bengal, the 11,909 till June 2020, what I have communicated right now. And now if I just look at what is happening, the pre-pandemic slowdown in India, because if we say the impact on, that is, financial market, on pandemic situation, but don't forget that what was happening in India before pandemic scenario. The situation was very boom, was big, or recession. I must say that India had also been witnessing a pre-pandemic slowdown. Everybody will agree, those who are doing research in this area. Even before the pandemic, since financial year 2018 and 19, the India's growth was falling 8% in the fourth quarter of financial year 2018 to 4.5% in the quarter financial year 2020. In January 2020 itself, just before our, the formal, announcement here, lockdown March, but in January 2020, the well before India's lockdown or reaction to the pandemic, the International Monetary Fund reduced India GDP estimates for 2019 and also reduced the 2020 GDP forecast. The 2016, you know very well, with regard to the banknote demonetization in India and to some extent GST enactment in 2017, which led to the severe back-to-back, disruption in the economy in Indian perspective. On the top of this, friend, there have been a numerous banking crisis that you also must notice, such as the infrastructure, leasing and financial services crisis, and the government scheme failures such as that of Make in India. There was a significant income crunch for both rural and urban sector in the year prior to lockdown. If I come to the pandemic slowdown, the outbreak of COVID-19, the pandemic is an unprecedented shock the Indian economy. If you say that is in a global economic downturn and also associated disruption of the demand and supply chain, the economy is likely to face a protected period of slowdown. Yes, I agree. The magnitude of the economic impact will depend upon the duration and severity of the health crisis, the duration of the lockdown, and the manner in which the situation unfolds once the lockdown is lifted. If I come to the impact of stock market, not only India, but also other aspects. Just if we look at this particular, exhibit, before showing the exhibit, if we look at, I have a date here, January, 2019, that is July, 1st July to 25th, June 2020, then everybody knows the situation, the drastic situation we observed, particularly in this exhibit in the month of last week of the month of March, the drastic, fall in Indian market. What I'm showing the data relating to the S&P BSE Sensex, and ultimately what happened. I have a data. I have another study I've made that I have taken the few variables, the COVID case, COVID death case, and also 5 countries like UK, USA, Japan, China, and India. And I put that. Well, what I found there, China had not as such the direct impact between the COVID case and their stock market, but other countries like UK, USA, India, and Japan, that is, we have found after conducting that, conducting the thorough study using the Ganjar causality model, we found that the COVID case and death case directly causes, their stock market return. That I am not showing in details here, just if I come to here, that is 1,000 industrial average, we find the more or less same picture in the same period, but not exactly during the same period, because not exactly same, downfall or, our, subsequently recovery. If we come to the Hang Seng Index here also you find the data. If we see, then ultimately you find in the month of January, the 26,312.63 gradually decreased 23,603, and ultimately came down, and then finally, June onwards, again, it was a good recovery, and now scenario much better. If you see Nasdaq Composite, there also we found that is a drastic and a change when the January 2020, 7,700, okay, ultimately June we found the recovery phase. So that way you can see we have another information, but I'm not detailing because of time constraint. But if you come to Indian primary market, particularly if I want to show this particular exhibit, this table here, if we find in the month of March and April, what happened with regard to the registration of new companies. As you know, in case of registration of new companies, the money will be mobilized in the market. That means that there is a scope for capital formation. If we look at in the month of March, in the month of February 2020, the non-government company in terms of number registered 10,426. In terms of number, it came down to the March 2020, 5787, and unfortunately April 3203. So we understand the immense importance of COVID-19 and impact of COVID-19 on financial market, particularly here, Indian capital market, as I said to you. Then coming to, IPO. Yes, January 2020 onwards, very few IPOs came into market to raise money, from the primary market, because IPO, the very important tools or mechanism or way by which a new company can generate their finance from the primary capital market, rather from the investor pocket, also their capital structure. They basically maybe the equity, only equity, or maybe equity plus. If we come to the IPO debt issue, earlier it was equity issue. Here we find very few companies came to market to raise their fund. So you say really the impact on the IPO market as well. Friend, if we come to the impact of IPO, FPI, the foreign portfolio investment, and FII, foreign institutional investment, the net investment scenario in the context of India, if we look at this table, what I find that in the January, in the month of February, it was the positive investment, 957 crore, 8970 crore. But if we look at the month of March, drastic fall. In the month of April, in the month of May, the negative investment in terms of there is FPI and FII, but whereas in the June, little recovery, reason behind you understand we're gradually trying to recover. When we come to the derivative market, impact on derivative market here, so if we find that in the month of April, the derivative market, the total money mobilization, it was the 18,042.86 crore rupees, but in the month of May, came down to 14,366.38. Don't you think there is a major impact on the derivative market? Yes, in the June also, the reverse approach again came down, but hope for the best. July and August, we have seen little recovery in this particular market as well. Coming to impact of mutual fund market, friend, the mutual fund market, the small investor, they have come forward to basically, to invest their hard-earned money in the mutual fund market. But if you see the scenario, October to December 2019, what happened there, the total mobilization, money through mutual fund, it was 126,097.06 rupees in crore. But whereas, during January 2020 to March 2020, it was a negative amount, the 94,267.22. And coming to to focus on the lending rate, Indian lending rate, if you see bank group wise monthly marginal cost of fund, which is called MC, MC fund based lending rate, rather MCL rate, but you say what I mentioned at India, it's a new development. So if you see in the month of March, April and May, in gradually declining trend as compared to the previous, I have shown here, April 2019 that is, ultimately May 2020, our lending rate. We can say this is one important macroeconomic variables. We can't ignore that, friend. So naturally, we must say there is a good relationship between that is interest rate as well as that is our COVID case. Yes, I am not showing here any research paper. This is not the right forum to show the research paper because here inaugural speech, I'm just trying to show very lucidly what has happened and what is happening and the things happening related to COVID case and entire financial market and macroeconomic variables as well. Coming to impact of exchange rate, if we look at the exchange rate, the euro versus INR, then you must see that is the data what I have shown. It is also impact on that because June 2020 it was 84, but at the same time you see January it was 79.92 against that is one euro, that is 79.927 INR, 84.85 June 2020 INR against 1 euro. At the same time, if you just want to know the GBP versus INR, so you see that is June it is 93.79 INR against 1 GBP, but whereas other information what I have mentioned here, so that way you can compare. If we come to the overall impact, friend, so unemployment rose from 6.7% on 15 March to 26% on 19 April, and then down to pre-lockdown levels by mid-June. Friend, we must say during the lockdown, they estimated 14 crore people lost employment while salaries were cut for many others. More than 45% of households across the nation have reported an income drop as compared to the previous year. Indian economy was expected to lose over 32,000 crore every day during the first 21 days of complete lockdown, which was there following the coronavirus outbreak. Under complete lockdown, less than a quarter of India's $2.8 trillion economic movement was functional. Up to 53% You can't imagine a business in the country where projected is significantly affected. If I take the example, major companies in India such as L&T, maybe there is Ultratech, Grasim Industries, Aditya Birla, well, and many, they temporarily suspended or significantly reduced their operation. Yes, in this context, I must say, our Honorable Prime Minister talking about and just giving opinion in favor of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhijan is a big question. We don't know whether India will be able to depend upon the one property or not. I mean, what I want to mean, economic self-reliance. I know in the announcement of our current government, that is, Honorable our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, seriously will speak about the matter, whether this model will be practically, will be, helpful to our societies, stakeholders, societies, people or not. By coming to protectionism, which is very, very important steps that has been taken by the government, I must say, as a researcher in finance, as you know, 18 April 2020, the India changed its foreign direct investment policy to curb the opportunistic takeover or acquisition of Indian companies, particularly to prevent this type of culprit attitude. China took initiative to acquire the Indian companies in the context of this critical situation. So I think the government has taken these steps in appropriate manner. This is good steps, what I must say with regard to this particular topic, financial market. Finally, I must say we are yet uncertain about how long the pandemic would continue. Where is the end? We don't know. Our medical profession, they are saying you have to be cautious about this pandemic situation, coming 2-3 years. And also you have to follow the protocol of ICMR protocol. Otherwise, you may have some problem. Let us see. Longer it stretches, continues. Economic damages should be more. We agree. But new developments take steps as we pass through stresses and strain, giving the opportunity for the economy to bounce back. Even then, for India to make an appropriate use of forecasted crystal gazing future, a well business planner has to be devised for its both formal and informal sector. I have not mentioned here MSME, other issues due to time constraint. Then I must say, formal, informal sector to make a healthy, productive exit route when things fall back to normalcy once again. So finally, I say by saying that way forward implication for businesses. The pandemic has paralyzed economies, we know. And I end by saying that the compelling business to evaluate their strategies. Companies will need to build their financial strength and focus on developing a lean structure to steer through the uncertain business environment. The global nature of the outbreak, coupled with high intensity and long duration, is expected to change the business landscape by way of shift in trade flows, investment, and consumption pattern. Hence, I must say, the priority for business should be to draft a comprehensive action, a recovery plan to mitigate the risk and address the main challenges. Thank you for your patient hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Shah, for your insightful talk. Now, may I request Professor Dr. Sheikh Samsuddin Ahmed to deliver his valuable speech. But before that, few words about Professor Ahmed. He is currently a commissioner of the Bangladesh Security and Exchange Commission. Prior to his current assignment, he was a professor of finance in the University of Dhaka, Bangladesh. He also served as a director of the Janata Bank Limited, one of the largest commercial banks of Bangladesh. Dr. Ahmed earlier served as a senior economist of the World Bank. He earned PhD degree from the University of Birmingham, UK, as a fellow of the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission. His research interests include capital market, fiscal and monetary policy, economic growth, and human development. Has numerous research articles published, both local as well as international journal. Thank you, sir. May I request Dr. Ahmed to deliver his valuable speech.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me here. First of all, I would like to express my warm greetings to all the fellow Indians on the August 15 Independence Day. I would also like to bring this to our notice that we lost the greatest person of our country, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the father of the nation, yesterday. It is the 45th year of his death anniversary, and it is considered as a National Mourning Day. Who died along with almost all entire family, excluding two of her daughters, one of whom are our honorable, beloved Prime Minister. We pray for the departed soul, and we wish the only two daughters left during the heinous attempt on a political person and his family who is still with us. We wish their good health and long life throughout. At the same time, before I forget, we have a great friend in India, our very beloved Pranab Mukherjee, who is having some health issues. I wish him all the best. With this little note, I would like to say a few words. COVID is here. COVID is everywhere. Actually, I have a mask in front of my eyes. Everybody has to follow all these necessary and important precautionary rules. It will be there as many other impacts, pandemics that have happened throughout the history of humankind. And we have to follow what the scientists and the physicians say so that we stay safe and can progress as a society, as a humanity. I would say that we should not be totally taken away by this pandemic. It is one of those difficult events in the history of the earth, but still it has to be taken as just another event. It's a serious event, no doubt about it, but we shall not lose our direction, lose our attention for progress, both as a society, as economy. So with this note, first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Siddhartha Shankar Saha, who has given a very thoughtful and thought-provoking prime paper or speech. I like the presentation. I have seen that there are a lot of information, a lot of attention has been given to Indian dimensions. Because India has been considerably covered, I would like to say a few words on Bangladesh. COVID has caused a lot of damage, like any other place in the world. The first proof is we were expecting a GDP of more than 8% in this country. Unfortunately, this COVID has slashed that to only 5.24%. So it's 3% down, which is nearly 40% of the expected GDP, which is down. So it's an impact on all the people in this country. Many have temporarily lost their jobs. Many have suffered. Many entrepreneurs, industries, businesses have suffered. But the government tried to primarily focus on the life than living. And due to that, the government promoted the not a lockdown, it's kind of lockdown. We tried to stop movement of many of the things, including the government offices were closed, the schools and education institutions are still closed, but the businesses are now opening up. Because, as I said, we just cannot be thinking of complete eradication and complete change of direction of the situation of the pandemic. So with that, we see that we are trying to pick up our economy. Even though we closed down many of the things, but our economy tried to remain resilient. We have three important areas that we always look at. One is the garment sector. Garment sector is the prime exportable sector of this country, so we always keep an eye on where it is going. It fell down considerably at the initial stage. Many of the orders were cancelled, billions of dollars of orders were cancelled. Many of the products could not be shipped, and some of these things have happened. Remittances also fell down a bit during that period of time, but which is a very important thing for Bangladesh, that plays an important role in having the reserve in the country. But it started changing from the month of May. In fact, the garments picked up quite a bit. It's now running at least at its 80% capacity. And the remittance has an ever-growing trend. Now we have the highest reserve we ever have had, which is about $38 billion. But COVID will continue to impact on many of these directions. But with this reserve, as we can continue to support the import for about 10 months, so it's a considerably good reserve. So immediate problem we can resolve. And also on the perspective of garments, because it's picking up orders and producing goods and merchandise. So I see that the unemployment will also emit away, and the rate of employment will continually grow. So because we have a positive trend in remittances income and the positive trend in garments industries, in addition to rest of the industries, I think the economy is revving back to its economic activities. There are proofs of that as well. Like last year, even in the pandemic, we have, even though it's less, but we have $155 of per capita GDP increase, which is now about $2,064 per capita for the last fiscal year. So what we have is we are expecting a positive dimension in the economy, which was impacted by the pandemic. And this positive trend, both in the sense of health issues like the rate of death, rate of infection is also being contained considerably, and we expect that will be further improved in the coming days. And I hope we'll be able to have some better management so that the impact of physical damage, human physical damage is significantly reduced so that everybody can be on its own activities. There are good signs around the world. Even I learned, many other countries, India is having a campaign for vaccine. Yesterday, I learned from the speech of our honorable Indian Prime Minister that there is a prospect of vaccine. We are also expecting some vaccine in our country. We are doing some research as well. So globally, there are plenty of research on that, and there are about 20 vaccines which are expected to come. And there are also notions that before the vaccine comes in, this pandemic might go away. So we should not be crippled by the idea of this COVID. We should take it very, very seriously, very, very highly seriously, but we shall not be focused on the danger and kind of things so that we just try to stay back from our regular life. We have to consider new normalcy, new situations in our behavior. Why we are thinking beyond what I have said is that we are looking forward to a progressive days as we used to have in the coming days, because we have identified possible areas of loopholes, and we try to develop considerably useful, like the monetary policy has taken a very expansionary dimension. We have reduced our cash reserve requirement considerably. We have reduced our repurchase repo rate. We have reduced our bank rate, and which is funneling a lot of money into the economy. Our honorable Prime Minister has actually given a stimulus of more than 100,000 crore taka in different directions, including social protection areas. In this current budget year, we have a significant increase in social protection, which is about, as a percentage of our budget, which is about 14.21%, and as a percentage of GDP, which is about, as a percentage of budget, I have the document here. For this year, it was 14.21% last year, and this year it is 16.32%. And as a percentage of GDP, it is 2.58% last year, and this year it is 2.93% revised. But for the year 2021, it has further increased from the revised one to 16.83%, and the projected expenditure for social protection in the coming budget year is 3.01%. So it's a considerable increase of about 1.5% of the GDP compared to the last year. And we have done a lot of monetary policy clustering. For example, we have facilities for large industries. We have facilities for medium and small industries, almost 50,000 crore taka. And we have also a new initiative of about 30,000 crore taka on the CMSC sector, cottage, micro, and this kind of industries. The government has taken initiative to also improve the microfinance dimension. It has created a new fund so that a lot of money can be funneled to those people who are engaged in microfinance through varieties of institutions, including the Pulli Karma Sahayak Foundation, which is the prime microfinance authority institution of the country. So as a whole, there are a lot of efforts from the microfinance dimension has been taken, because somebody has actually asked me this question, so I'm answering while I'm seeing his message here, that there are a lot of effort from the government in ensuring the microfinance. So the issue is that the job loss that have happened because of the COVID, we are trying to overcome through varieties of efforts like, facilitating the industries pay out their wages, even if it is that the employee cannot come to the office, but the government is financing in a very reduced rate to the entrepreneurs so that they can have the fund and can pay out to the employees. So the stress is reduced. So we have all these efforts and activities, which is giving us the hope that our economy will grow as the previous year. We are expecting that the economy will grow around 8% in the coming year. But actually, if you look at the global data or even the Asian data, I was having a webinar on Thursday, and we were discussing that out of the many countries in Asia, we actually have Vietnam and Bangladesh a trend of positive economic growth. Unfortunately, India has a negative growth, and I believe that will be overcome in the coming days in many ways. But given the data for the next fiscal year, only Vietnam and Bangladesh has positive economic growth. With respect to inflation, which is another important area, even though there were COVID, there were very little inflation in our country. In fact, we were within the expected range of our previous projection of 5.60%. So it's about the same, and not much different. And we expect the inflation will remain like that in the coming fiscal year for many reasons, including we have very good harvest, which is called the Boro harvest. We have had very good Boro harvest, and we have opened up many of the areas to which, if food is required, we can actually import. But it's good to tell you that Bangladesh is now a fully food sufficient country. We produce whatever we need, be it rice, be it lentils, be it meat, be it vegetable, anything and everything, be it fish. We are self-sufficient at the moment, and is increasing every year. Even in fact, the sweet water fish, we are now the second largest in the world. In fact, that's very sweet thing to tell, because this same can be same kind of policies or things can be done in many other neighboring countries who can take the experience of Bangladesh. Bangladesh is also doing good in many social areas on which our neighbors can take a lot of lessons, like we take a lot of lessons on industries and finance and all of that things. So in social areas, our neighbors can also take a lot of attention from us, like the child death rate or maternal mortality rate, or even the health and hygiene dimension. So there are issues, of course, in any areas, but we are trying our best to overcome the financial aspects. In many instances, we are trying to develop new standard so that things to change. I will not extend a lot because I have, as you can understand, I have another meeting now. But I would like to finish with one more dimension, which is the stock exchange. You'll be happy to know. The Security Exchange Commission, where I'm a commissioner at the moment, is trying to overcome the problem of the stock market, stock share, bond, the capital market. There was a very precarious and very bad situation in the month of March. In fact, the indexes were going down, the portfolio they're going down, and the turnover were going down. But in the last 45, 46 days we are here, we are trying to overcome this situation, and the index has gone up from about 4,000 points to about 4,860 points today. And the turnover today, let me have a look at the real data now. It has actually increased. It has crossed. It's not crossed. It's exactly 9,785 million taka. So it's increasing, and I expect it to be considerably higher today because it's the first day of the week. So we are trying to establish the rules and regulations in a manner that are conducive. And the government has given us a lot of opportunities and directions. We have received a lot of attention from our honorable Prime Minister and the Finance Minister, and we are following those directions, and we are trying our every best to see that the capital market is rejuvenated and contributing to the economy, and we hope that will progress. The fourth thing, probably I must also say, is the fiscal dimension. Our tax GDP ratio is one of the lowest in the world, and of course lower than India and many other countries in the world. Our tax GDP rate, but tax collection is also an issue here. But still, we have fiscal space, so we are not worried much about the indebtedness. So we can increase our indebtedness if required, and we have increased a bit this year because we have to overcome the losses that we have had to face during the pandemic. But still, the fiscal scenario is affordable for us. Our credit rating, sovereign credit rating, is remaining the same. S&P Standard & Poor last week has published the credit rating of Bangladesh, which is remaining stable like the first year, and our foreign dependency is insignificant at the moment. So we are not worried about funding the losses that we have incurred during the COVID, and we have the idea that we can generate a further revenue to the government this fiscal year and can deliver the financial and the economic policies that the budget has promoted or floated for this current fiscal year. As a whole, I actually have a lot to say. If I could have another hour, I could have said, but I would stop here because all of you are here and you all have to say a lot of things. But I would say as a summary that we should not be worried about this pandemic. We have to take it with very serious note. We have to be very cautious. We have to be as sincere as possible in every movement that we do throughout our day, throughout our personal life and social and national and international life. But at the same time, we should have to come forward and do our very best to engage in socio-economic activities and following the suggestions of the physicians and the scientists. We have to take the baton ahead so that the economies can grow and we can collaborate with each other and progress in the coming days. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable speech. And I must say that, sir, you are a very busy person. And in spite of that, you spent some valuable time for us today. So thank you, sir. And we hope that in future, we'll also get you for like this type of seminar. Thank you, sir. Now, may I request Professor Dr. Amalendra Bhuiya to give his valuable speech. But before that, I will tell something about Professor Bhuiya. Amalendra Bhuiya is a professor, Department of Commerce, University of Kollani, West Bengal, India. He was former head of the Department of Commerce, Kollani University. He has published 108 research articles and 8 books in the national and international level. He has completed 4 UGC projects. His research interests are in the financial market, corporate finance, international finance, and behavioral finance. He has presented 52 research papers in various international and national conferences. Presently, he is serving as a member of the editorial board in 21 international journals. He served as an editor-in-chief, American Journal of Theoretical and Applied Business. Currently, he is an editor-in-chief, Indo-Asian Journal of Finance and Accounting. Dr. Bhuiya acted as a keynote speaker in 43 national and 6 international conferences. Now, may I request Dr. Bhuiya to deliver his valuable speech.
Okay, thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Very good afternoon to everyone. First, the respected principal of Sushil Kaur College, Dr. Manos Adhikari, respected convener, Dr. Amit Bosak, and also two joint conveners, coordinators, CMA Dr. Madan Mohan Jana and Dr. Bashav Seal, and all the teachers of the Department of Commerce, Sushil Kaur College, and respected Professor Dr. Shamsuddin Ahmed from Bangladesh, Commissioner, Bangladesh Security Exchange Commission, and former Professor of Finance, Dhaka University, respected Professor Dr. Siddhartha Shankar Shah is my friend. He is Professor, Department of Commerce, University of Calcutta, and presently is Dean, Postgraduate Faculties of Business Studies, Management and Social Welfare. Participants and some of the participants from Bangladesh. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to talk about COVID-19 impact on financial markets, on stock market, actually Indian stock market. And Professor Saha has already enlightened the pre-pandemic scenario in the Indian financial market as well as stock markets, and also some issues relating to the COVID-19 impact on the Indian financial market and stock market. I must say, if you consider the report of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, World Economic Outlook in January 2020 about India's economy, India's economy will be negative during the year 2020. And why? Because if you see the picture of Indian economy was struggling during the year 2019. because of many, I can say low demand is the most and important factor. Low consumption, low private consumption, and more shadow lenders. At the same time, macroeconomic fundamentals was not very strong. It is obvious that the production was hampered before the pandemic period. If you consider the manufacturing output before the pandemic period, because of low demand, low consumption, and at the same time, weak macroeconomic, some of the macroeconomic factors ultimately adversely affect the Indian economy. For this reason, World Bank or some of the credit rating agencies reported that India's economy will be negative before the pandemic situation. But in India, on January, first COVID-19 case was reported, and for health measure, for measuring the health crisis, India government was taken a lockdown measures on 25th March, and the complete lockdown measures were taken by the Indian government up to 31st May. Some of the economic activities were started, and we are in the unlock phase 3. Gradually, some of the economic activities were started during the period. But if you see the picture of economy, there are two important challenges at present. Health problem, health crisis, and second one, economic crisis in India. Why? The COVID-19 cases has hardly flattened. If you see the curve of the COVID-19, obviously the case is rising day by day. At present, about more than 5,000 COVID-19 cases we have seen. And also uncertainty because of economic downturn from the pre-pandemic period. Over economic revival in India, as it works growth performance, if you consider during the last 40 years or more than 40 years. Despite this, stock markets have rebounded at present. If you see the picture of March, just before lockdown on 23rd March, the stock market was decreased during the current year about 25,000, near to 26,000, 25,900 something. And thereafter, because of some reasons, obviously because of the fear of the foreign investors or as well as the domestic investors, the panic has adversely affected the Indian stock markets because of withdrawals of their money from the Indian stock market. For this reason, Indian stock markets have gone down during the particular month. But thereafter, it has been rebounded. But what we know, the market always looks at the future. At the current level, if you consider the sensitivity index, the particular market is discounting that India will be current account surplus, according to the report made by the International Monetary Fund in 2020 June. Due to why? Due to lower crude oil prices, because India is the net importer and India imports more crude oil prices. For this reason, import bill increased in the earlier period because of higher rate of crude oil prices. But during this period, crude oil prices have been down. Prices was decreased because of COVID-19 pandemic, because of low demand across India, across the globe. Lower gold imports. Gold imports have been decreased. Reduction in the imports from China. And for this reason, these are the positive factor. Current account surplus, current account deficits have been decreased in India. At the same time, the market is pricing from foreign portfolio investments due to increase in India's weight. India's important in the MSCI and FTSE index. The market is factoring in that fiscal and monetary stimulus announced by the government, and the Reserve Bank of India is restricting India's India's GDP growth about -5%, around -5%, according to the foreign agencies' report. But we lay the foundation of the strong rebound in the financial year 2021-22. Most importantly, the market is pricing in the resumption of activities. Gradually, not all the economic activities were started. At the same time, the report of the Covaxin, because of this, due to the COVID-19 period around the corner. If the actual scenario in coming days is better than what is priced by the market, the index can rise significantly. And alternatively, if the market is worse because of low demand, low consumption, and also some of the macroeconomic fundamentals, and also if the supply chain is not improved, in present condition, the supply chain is disrupted because of lockdown measure and social distancing policy. Obviously, the index will be decreased. Now, I am sharing in this background, I am sharing a PPT for showing some of the scenarios, what is happening which factors affecting the Indian stock market, and volatility in the Indian stock market is the main culprit of the Indian economy, because stock market is the mirror or backbone of the Indian economy. Obviously, we have to know whether there is any volatility, whether it has been increased or not, or which factors ultimately affecting the Indian stock market. And also, I have considered some of the sectors, means which sectoral sectors indices are important, and which sectors adversely affected, which sector positively affected the Indian economy, and also the scenario, the whole picture of the Indian scenario. And now, please allow me to share my PPT. Is it visible? Hello?
No,
Not.
slide is not visible.
Oh, again, I'm trying. Now, is it visible?
Yes, Professor, it is visible.
Yeah. Thank you. Because the COVID-19 case has been increased, I have already mentioned about the Indian stock market, what is happening. Picture just in 14th January, the Indian stock market was 41,953 around, and on 23rd March it is 25,982 because of withdrawal of money from the stock market. And in July, but I have considered in my calculation 6th August, it has been increased from the March result. You just seeing the net inflows. About what I can remember, 62,000 crore from the Indian stock markets was withdrawal. Retail investor sentiment was weak, and individual held on cash amid uncertainty because of the pandemic. Because of the pandemic, Professor Saha has talked about regarding the policy of demonetization and GST. So some of the policy thereafter, because of reforms taken by the Indian government, and it has been observed that economic policy uncertainty has been increased. At the same time, if you consider the COVID-19 case, World Economic Pandemic Uncertainty Index has also been increased, and both actually affect the Indian economy. At the same time, India-China border tensions are there. in spite of undeterred and projections of economic contraction, and also the border tension, India's stock markets have struck a remarkable rebound. The picture. It has been increased, and at present, last 2-3 days, it has been decreased slightly, up more than 38,000. And Indian stock market, particularly in Sensex, has gained 40% on and from June 1. In spite of the COVID-19 cases, have been increased day by day. Now, question may arise: will this sustain? Answer is market in mirroring the trend, effectively highlighting the disconnection between the financial market and the real economic activities. Investors focusing on the easing of some short-term tail risk, and also placing their bets on central banks' return to monetary policy easing, ignoring the economic slump and rise the global poverty, including Indian. Some of the economists feel that a lag in economic revival, already mentioned, and the reinstatement of income level may lead to stress in all segments. Say, for example, banks, NPA, corporate, MSME sector, and the retail sector. Another, why our markets are going up? If some of the factors are negatively, adversely affect the Indian economy, in spite of that, why are markets going up? Answer is very simple. Because of increase in the foreign portfolio investment, foreign institutional investment, also domestic institutional investment, investors have invested more in the Indian stock market. At the same time, some of the Indian economic activities have been started in the unlock phase. For this reason, and basic foreign portfolio investment, foreign institutional investment, and domestic institutional investment, for this reason, Indian stock market, especially I have considered here Sensex only. Sensex have been increased. Now, coming to some important sector. For this reason, I have mentioned here the sectoral index value. If you consider the red color, that means from 31st December 2019 to 30th June, during the 6 months period, from finance, material, industrials, IT, consumer discretionary, utilities, FMCG, realty sectors have been, absolute return have been decreased. Telecom sector have been positively, positive return, have shown the positive return. Now, why these BSE and BSE related sectors have been considered here? Economic activities result in the production of goods and services sector. Obviously, the sector economic activities classified on the basis of the ownership, working condition, and the nature of the activities. Obviously, these sectors are very, very important for Indian stock market, not only Sensex. You have to consider the different sectors of the stock market. And if If you consider the data from January to 6th August, I can, if you see the picture of time series graph that has been almost during the month of March, all the sectors, including the Sensex, has been decreased. Thereafter, all the sectors in which indices, including, have been increased. First, we have to consider, obviously, we have to consider the mean values. Almost, if you consider the total period from January to August 6th, the mean value of the particular statistics, not a return, are very good rather than the earlier period. Means during the period of the particular complete lockdown period, I will show later. And if you consider the standard deviation indicates the volatility. Standard deviation indicates the high volatility in the market, Indian stock market. And volatility actually negatively affect the economy. Also, investors are not interested to invest in the, basically in case of the foreign investors. If you consider the total period, at the same time, what I have considered, all the indices of the sectoral indices plus Sensex are not normally distributed. This is very, very important for testing volatility. If you consider the volatility and leverage effect, almost just look at the table. If you and from Sensex to this, sum of alpha plus beta means arch plus gauge are more than 1. This indicates, if you consider the whole period from January to August, all volatile, plus and Sensex is also volatile. If you consider the E-Gauge model, if there is any COVID-19 panic actually affect the Indian stock market, just the if you consider the leverage means the gamma, it should be negative. If you consider the Sensex, it has been negative, but it is not statistically significant. In other, all the sectoral indices, and this leverage gamma parameter is positive, that means there is no leverage effect. That means no bad news affect the Indian stock market and also the sectoral India's sectors, the selected sectors. I have divided the total part into different way. First, I have considered the pre-lockdown period from January to 24th March. It means here the mean return, mean indices is also higher than the total period. And obviously, you have seen in January, the months, our stock market indices were increased significantly during the pre-lockdown period. And also markets, but the markets is volatile during the pre-lockdown period because standard deviation is very higher. And also series are normally distributed. If on complete lockdown period from 25th March to 31st May, mean values of the indices, that means index has been index price stock risk. If you consider only the mean, and also standard deviation has been decreased except healthcare and utilities. It has been decreased. But in one period, all the data are normally distributed. If you see the Jarki-Bera probability and with results. Again, I have considered the unlock period means from June to then the mean indices means the stock prices mean value have been increased. And our diagram has also considered it has been increased, obviously. And at the same time, volatility other than two, Sensex and IT, volatility has been decreased. And none of the indices all the series are normally distributed. We go for Garch model. According to the Garch model, if you consider the mean return during the period, pre-lockdown period, just see the results. Sensex and all other sectors shows the negative return. But in the complete lockdown period, because we know from the middle of April to May, 31st May, our Sensex have been increased day by day in spite of volatility, in spite of rising COVID-19 cases. But the mean return is positive, 0 or positive. If you consider the unlock period, it has been positive, not negative. That means Indian stock markets have rebounded in spite of COVID-19 cases. And also in some cases, some of the 2-3 variables, say for example, the foreign institutional investment or investors or crude oil prices affect the Indian stock market positively. For this reason, it has been positive. And then if you consider the volatility during the pre-lockdown period, I have already considered the volatility of the whole lockdown period. But here, during the pre-lockdown period, other than finance, IT sector, the market, all the indices in plus Sensex are volatile. If you consider that there is no leverage effect in the Indian stock market, that means no negative news affect the Indian stock market. And if you consider the lockdown period, here I have considered the lockdown means the complete lockdown period plus unlock phase, then there is no volatility. Only 2-3 days decreasing does not indicate any volatility. That means when the total, if you consider as an investor, if you consider, then observe the volatility. As an investor should consider the short period. If you consider at present during the lockdown period and lockdown phase, unlock phase, Indian stock, there is no volatility in the Indian stock market. There is no leverage effect. In COVID-19 cases. Now question may arise. Which factors affect the pre-lockdown period and which factors affect the post-lockdown period. Factors affect the lockdown and pre-lockdown and post or the lockdown and unlock phase means the COVID-19 period. I have considered exchange rate we know during the pre-lockdown period exchange rates against dollar and also euro and other four currencies have been increased, means the Indian rupee was depreciated significantly. For this reason, exchange rate I have considered. And during the pre-lockdown period, we know the crude oil prices were higher. Higher crude oil prices negatively affect the market. Again, I have considered the inflation is the important macroeconomic factor. If you see all the sectoral indices, including Sensex, crude consumer price index means inflation negatively affect the Indian stock market. But why Indian stock market were increased? Because the main reason is the foreign institutional investors. Maybe other investors are not considered here. All the sector positively affect the Indian stock market. Again, during the unlock and lockdown phase, during the COVID-19 period, I have considered previous four macroeconomic variables plus COVID-19 cases. And COVID-19 cases, you see the result. You can see the result. COVID-19 cases negatively affect the Sensex and the all the sectors, excluding the materials and utility sector. Exchange rate and inflation, we know the inflation rates are increasing. Both are negatively affected the Indian stock market. But crude oil prices and foreign institutional investment have positive the Indian stock market. That means because of foreign investment, also domestic institutional investment have not considered here, and also the positive impact of the crude oil prices, and also some of the economic supply chain was not it. Some of the supply chains are running, and also but demand is not increased. Also the lower import value, if you consider the import value, we know our import value ultimately decreases the current account deficit. If you consider the current account deficit, in that case current account deficit will positively affect the Indian stock market. And for this reason, at present, Indian stock market have been rebounded. And in that case, Indian stock market, if you consider the whole results, healthcare, especially the results are potential avenue, but healthcare, especially the potential avenue, domestic institutional investor may invest in the healthcare sector. Indian investor also can participate in the market without any doubt at present, based on the result, because the markets are less volatile now. If you consider the short period, and also no asymmetrical shocks are seen during the pre-lockdown and during the COVID-19 period. Pandemic react less in the stock market. These are not the factor for Indian stock market. But what I have we have seen, exchange rate and inflation rate adversely affect the Indian stock market, both in the pre-lockdown and also during the COVID-19 period. But crude oil prices negatively affect the pre-lockdown period. But during the COVID-19 period, positively affect the Indian stock market, and at the same time, foreign institutional investment is very, very important, because foreign institutional investment, what we have seen from the year 2019, positively affect the Indian stock market. Therefore, exchange rate should be controlled, because we feel about, if you consider the RBI, if you see the RBI database, about more than 94, if you consider the average of 6 currencies, not 74, if only against dollar it was 74. But if you consider the average of 6 currencies, it is more than 94. That means, but in the short period, exchange rate, negative exchange rate is important for the exporters. Therefore, the Indian government should be rate regime should frame a policy regarding exchange rates regime, because of the long-term policy, because for the long-term policy, in the long run, exchange rate should be positive. That means Indian rupee should be increased. If you consider the inflation rate at present, we know all the workers, migrant workers or daily wage workers, actually have no income, and they have returned to their home. Migrant workers and also daily wage workers have returned, have no income because they lost their job. That means actually also an important factor. And they have actually, all the workers basically engaged in the agricultural sector. And for this reason, in spite of increasing in the agricultural sector, I have not considered in the agricultural sector in that case in the stock market, but agricultural production, what we have seen, the agricultural production have been increased, positively increased, and it was more than near to 4%. But food inflation have been increased because more workers are engaged in the general people, and also the rich people are only interested to spend their money in the essential discretionary goods and not non-discretionary, non-essential goods. Therefore, these are the conditions, and also the unemployment, and also during the month of July, from the July and August, it has crude oil prices have been increased slightly. For this reason, inflation rates have been increased. We know the retail inflation rates, it is more than 6.6%. That means it should be controlled by the government, and therefore two challenges are there. Health, the government has to control the health because of distributing of mask, social distancing policies, etc., for recovery of the Indian economy. Indian stock market is the important part, because stock market is the backbone of the Indian economy. That means stock market have been rebounded, so that at the same time, stock market will be increased in the near future, if foreign investment and also domestic investment are increased, and government have also framed a policy regarding the different macroeconomic fundamentals, because some of the macroeconomic fundamentals are also low. It should be strong. Strong macro positively affect the Indian stock market. At the same time, low demand should be converted to the high demand. For this reason, for the purpose of increasing the high purchasing power, if purchasing power are increased, obviously the demand will be increased, and in that way, if demand are increased, obviously it will impact the Indian economy, and when the Indian economy will be recovered, will be converted to negative to positive, then obviously again Indian stock market will be positively affected. I have considered here only Sensex and other markets. You may consider the Nifty and other stock market. In this way, these are the picture, these are the scenario of the Indian stock market. Indian stock market is, if you consider the short period, these are not volatile. Therefore, investors should invest more in the Indian stock market, and at the same time, some of the macroeconomic factors what I have considered, this has been weak. These are weak. It should be strong, and strong factors positively affect the Indian stock market. And at that point, I end my concluding my discussion. For the market rise from the current level, it will require an early medication because of health crisis, and also allow all the economic activities so that the Indian economy will be boosted up. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me to act as an invited speaker in your webinar. Thank you very much, and over to Dr. Amit Bosak.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Audible.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Amalendra Bhuiya, for your valuable research-based lecture regarding different aspects, various dimensions, as well as trend and progress. Thank you, Professor Bhuiya. Now, it is time for the interactive session to begin. Now, I request Dr. Sudeshna Chakraborty to conduct this session. Professor Sudeshna Chakraborty.
Thank you, Amita. The interactive session where we cannot properly interact. So that is the new normal which we are having to deal with, unfortunately. And before I go into any questions, I have a disclaimer of my own. I'm completely a non-commerce person, but in the last few months we have seen we are being forced to take up roles which we have never taken up before. We are becoming our own barbers, we are becoming our own cooks and all. So we are making do with the resources that we have. So if I mess up, I apologize to both the participants and the speakers. The first question has been sent by Partho Kormokar, and the question is for Professor Ahmed. He would like to know the impact of COVID-19 on microfinance industries, which I think Professor Ahmed already addressed a little bit. And another question by Gautam Das, which I think touches the same avenue, if Professor Ahmed would like to address it, how business opportunities have been impacted both in the short and medium term because of this pandemic. Professor Ahmed, would you like to respond, sir?
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Do we have Professor Ahmed with us, or?
Okay, in that case, you better to ask Professor Omanundu.
Okay, I think we have
Actually,
to let go of
his
Professor
microphone
Ahmed, yeah.
is muted.
Microphone is muted. Okay. Just a few
Okay,
seconds.
okay. Please, a question to me.
Okay.
If there is
Okay.
any question.
Okay, it is better to ask the question to Professor Bhuiya.
Professor Bhuiya, would you like to take up this question?
Yeah. Please.
Then the short and medium term impact on business opportunities because of this pandemic. Would you like to give your views, sir?
In my concluding remark, I have already explained and mentioned. I have considered here the short period and also the total 2020 period from January to August 6. If you first, I'm talking about the economy, then stock market. If you consider the particular factor imports, because of low demand, obviously the value of imports have been decreased because of low demand, because of lockdown, and because of international seaport, airport were shutting down, are shut down. Obviously, the global supply chain was also disrupted during the lockdown phase. And also, exports have been disrupted, have been decreased. Why? Because of low production and also international ban, travel ban. And at the same time, if you consider in other countries, there are also the government of the particular of those countries measure the lockdown phase. Obviously, the demand has been decreased in other countries also. But the import value, because India in most of the case is the net importer. If import value is decreased, it affected positively. But when the import value will be increased, adversely affect the Indian economy because current account deficit will be increased. But if you consider the medium term and the longer term, the government has to think about the financial sector reforms, especially in the banking sector, also in the exchange rate regime, also in the foreign policy. Government has to maintain the friendship relation with other countries. Say, for example, China. Because of India-China Cold War, actually India has banned some of the products that are imported from China. But China is the large exporter around the globe. and also in India in case of medicines, and also in case of other products like the mobile phones, other toys, etc. If the products are banned, obviously it will affect the Indian economy. But because of political ground, some of the products have been banned, not imported. But again, I'm talking about when stock markets, actually these factors affect the stock market. Obviously, current account deficit is the important factor. Exchange rates are the important factor. Also, the foreign exchange reserve are the important factor. If exports are not increased, obviously foreign exchange reserve will be decreased. If foreign portfolio investment and foreign institutional investments are not increased more, obviously it will affect the Indian stock market. Also, low demand. First, the low demand. The demand is the main factor, main adverse factor in Indian economy at present. Demand has to be increased, and if demand factors are increased, obviously the Indian economic activity, Indian economy will be improved, and it will positively affect the stock market, because foreign institutional investors, at the same time domestic institutional investors will be encouraged and invested more in the Indian stock market, and also other macroeconomic fundamentals will be improved. Along with this, obviously in the long run, in the medium period, Indian stock market will be rebounded. I think, I must say, if these policies are taken immediately to improve the Indian economy, Indian stock market will be increased in the long run, in the medium term period, and also Indian economy will be improved. Thank you. Over to you.
Sudarshan, next question.
Thank you, Professor Bhuiya, for explaining in such detail. One question from Professor Purnendu Vikas Chatterjee is, I think, a bit, it takes off from where you just said. Is the future, for some time at least, in Indian economy or worldwide, is it going to be dependent on the manufacturing of medicinal support products or the health insurance companies? Is that the way forward for now? Will that give a kind of a boost? That is his question, sir.
If you consider the healthcare industries, I have considered here, during the lockdown phase, the growth of the healthcare industry have been decreased during the lockdown period. But thereafter, means that from the unlock phase, the growth of the healthcare industries have been increased. Obviously, healthcare sector is the important sector, not only for medicine, because of investment. If investment in the healthcare industries are increased, obviously more healthcare system will be improved in India. Obviously, healthcare positively affect the Indian economy. If you consider the lockdown phase, healthcare industry negatively affect the Indian economy. Indian economy doesn't depend on only healthcare industry, because most of the medicines are imported by the Indian government, Indian economy from outside India, say for example China. That means Indian economy doesn't depend on a healthcare industry, but healthcare is an important sector. If healthcare industries are improved, obviously your already we have seen the COVID hospital. There are lack of COVID hospital in India, and also if the investment in healthcare industries is improved, obviously it will increase the healthcare system of the country. Then it will boost up the economy, obviously. Okay, what to?
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Bhuiya. I think we have time for one more question, and as it is, we have been taxing you too much. There are lots of questions, but we will not disturb you except for one last
No.
one.
You can
which
ask
is
me.
this is actually a question which two people have asked. Ratan Sarkar as well as Raja Paul. Both of them wanted to know about the labor market and especially the future of the migrant laborers, which I think is not just an economic question but a burning social question as well right now.
Yeah. I
So,
can explain.
Yes, something about that, sir, please.
Okay. Immediately after lockdown, all the economic activities were stopped because of economic shocks. And manufacturing, construction sector and power sector, mining, every service sector also hardest hit in India. And about more than 59 million workers returned to home, and they are not interested to return back to their their existing workplace because of health crisis. Obviously, this is a problem. Lack of availability of laborers in actually increase the production cost. The government has to consider it. If production cost is increased, it will increase the inflation, it will increase the production cost that ultimately negatively affect the Indian economy. And also, the government at present, the government has to arrange a transport system so that migrant workers can return to their workplace, who are interested to return to their workplace without any cost. Government has to bear it. Central government and also the state government have to bear the particular cost. And also, who are not interested to return, who lost their jobs from their existing place, the government has to, central or state government have to create some job opportunities for the migrant workers and also for some daily wage workers also, because they are not, if they cannot able to return, obviously the state government has a liability to their job or create some job opportunities, especially in the rural area or in some cases in the urban area, so that they engaged in the particular area, particular market or particular sector, and they earn something. Otherwise, the domestic violence will be increased. And if you see the newspaper, if you see the TV news, we are all aware of the fact that the domestic violence is increased day by day because migrant workers are returned to their home And at the same time, if you consider the Sundarban area, 5-6 persons have already go to the tiger's mouth. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Bhuya, for taking your.
Any other question? Any other question?
No, I don't think. I think you have addressed in your questions what other topics they wanted to know about. So I don't think we need.
I'm talking about society also.
Yes, I know, but whatever questions we had.
Factor.
Exactly, sir. And I think this has been so detailed, your answer, that all the questions have been taken care of. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Bhuya, for taking initiative for clearing all the dilemma regarding various questions. But due to time factor, paucity of time, we are extremely sorry that we are not entertain all the questions. Okay. And with this, the interactive session is over. Now I request Professor CMA Madan Mohan Jana to give his vote of thanks. No.
Yes.
Little bit louder.
Sound is not clear.
Sound is not clear.
Am I audible, sir?
Sound is not clear.
Hello? Hello, am I audible? Hello? Am I audible?
মদনদা মাইক্রোফোনটা মুখের কাছে নাও। হ্যাঁ
মদনদা হেডফোনের মাইকিং এন্ডটা দেখো, কয়েল করো, ওটা কোথায় আছে? ওই জায়গাটা একটু দূরে হয়ে যাচ্ছে তোমার বোধহয়।
Now audible?
Yes. Good
afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Department of Commerce, Sushilkar College, I congratulate all of you for joining with us on this momentous occasion, graceful August gathering and patient hearing. Now we are proud to express our profound and roseful thanks to Janab Abu Tahir Sardar, President Governing Body Sushilkar College, for your skill enhancing governance. Now to our Chief Patron, it is an immense pleasure and humble opportunity to express our profound gratitude to our Principal Dr. Manas Kumar Odhikari for his ocean view space, heartful appreciation, rose melt congratulations, conflictless working environment, truthful transparency, and countless blessings. Without these, the international webinar will not make grand success. Thank you so much, sir, for your cooperation. I express my sincere thanks to Mr. Abhijit Rai, DPI nominee governing body member of Sushilkar College, for your graceful governance and committed cooperation. I am also thankful to other GB members of Sushilkar College. Now, I express our sincere thanks and heartful gratitude to Professor Siddhartha Shankar Saha, Department of Commerce, University of Calcutta, and Dean, Faculty Council of Postgraduate Studies in Commerce, Social Welfare, Business Management, University of Calcutta. Thank you so much, sir, for your inaugural speech. It is fortunate enough to express our sincere thanks to Honorable and respected Professor of Finance, Dr. Sheikh Shamsuddin Ahmed, University of Dhaka, Bangladesh, and Commissioner, Bangladesh Securities Exchange Commission. Thank you, sir, for your valuable speech, lucid explanation, and sparing your precious time. We are really enriched from your excellent explanation and thought-provoking discussion. It is an immense pleasure to express my sincere thanks to Professor Dr. Amalendu Bhuya, Department of Commerce, University of Calcutta. He is also more than 20 editorial board members of international journals, mostly from American journals. I really thankful, sir, for your graceful and thought-provoking comparative analysis
on impact of COVID-19 on financial markets in India. Thank you so much, sir, for your in-depth deliberation. I wish to express our thanks to our HOD, Department of Commerce, Sushilkar College, and convener of this international webinar, Dr. Amit Bosak, for his moral, mental, majestic support, graceful guidance, and putting extraordinary effort to make the webinar grand success. I also like to thank our departmental colleague and organizing secretary, Dr. Basok Kumar Sil, for your valuable cooperation and for sparing your valuable time. Thank you so much, sir. I would like to thank to HOD Department of Physics, Dr. Amit Trivedi, for his moral, technical, borderless, and ocean view computer support. I would also like to thank our librarian, Mr. Asim Kumar Pal, for your countless and continuous computer support. I would also like to thank our beloved HOD Department of Computer Science, Professor Purnendu Vikas Chatterjee, for your continuous and countless support. I am happy to express vote of thanks all the teaching staff of our college for your cordial cooperation and countless support. Now I would like to thank to Professor Sureshna Chakraborty, HOD Department of English, Sushilkar College. Without her countless support, the international webinar will not make grand success. Thank you, madam. I also like to thank all non-teaching staff of our college for their endless and committed support. Last but not the least, I express my playful thanks to national and international participants and viewers for joining with us and patient hearing. I also express my thanks to all the student union members of Sushilkar College. Finally, the wonderful students who have turned up in such great numbers, not only from our department, but also from other departments of the college. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Now over to Dr. Bosak.
Okay, now one point I must add, that is naturally thankfulness should be also provided to Professor CMA Modan Mohan Jana. Without his support, it is not possible to organize this kind of webinar. Now with this, we end the session and thank you everybody for giving your valuable time with us. Thank you everybody. Thank you. Good afternoon.
হ্যাঁ অমিতা ঠিক আছে তাহলে এন্ড হয়ে যাচ্ছে